Moving forward, I'm now about to invite on stage Mr. Neeraj Kumar, former Commissioner of Police, Delhi Police. Let's put our hands together as I welcome on stage one of the country's most distinguished police officers who hung up his boots recently. He has, of course, held very high-profile assignments and is here to tell us more. We welcome you, sir.
Honorable Justice Mr. Rohit Mahajan, who spoke before me, distinguished participants, it's a pleasure to be here, but at the same time, it's very intimidating to speak after Honorable Justice Radhakrishnan and Mr. Rohit Mahajan, who have given you such a wide perspective on corporate frauds. I wish to bring to you a slightly wider perspective, not only talking about corporate frauds, but also talking about frauds in general and how after major scams, how we have done course correction and come out better, come out with flying colors. The classic example is, of course, the Companies Act and its enforcement by the SEBI, which has brought about a sea change in the compliance by companies and in the enforcement of law as far as corporate houses are concerned. My first brush with a large-scale scam took place in 1992 when I was the Deputy Commissioner of Police South of Crime Branch in Delhi Police, when in the month of September, a complainant walked into the crime branch and said that I have won a lottery with a prize money of 51 lakhs, but when I went to collect my ticket, I was told that this is a counterfeit ticket, fake ticket. But I bought from so-and-so lottery house in Karol Bagh. These were the people, and now I'm told that it is a fake ticket. So we tried to investigate. Let me confess to you that a complaint of this kind receives very little attention in a police station. And that is why he had gone to the police station. Because he was not given satisfactory response from the police station, he came to the crime branch. When we probed further, we found that there was a huge fraud going on in the conduct of lotteries. Now, what was the fraud? You will be surprised to know what the fraud was and what was the extent to which it was going. The laws of the land provide that no private operator can operate a lottery. However, a government lottery or a lottery for a cause, a lottery for a charitable trust can be run with the government's permission. Now, here is the place where the fraud started. Now, all that a fraudulent operator had to do was to obtain government sanction from the lottery department of the state government in the name of, say, All India Deaf and Dumb Welfare Society. I remember the name of the operator also, and get permission. This society got permission from the government of Andhra Pradesh, and they started operating this lottery. First and foremost, what they would do is that they have permission to, say, print 2 lakh tickets for one draw. So they would print only 1 lakh tickets. Then out of those 1 lakh tickets, say, 25,000 get sold. When the draw is made, the draw is not only made out of those limited number of tickets which are sold, the draw is made out of 2 lakh ticket numbers, some of which have not even been printed. So obviously the chances are loaded in favor of the operator. Most of the prizes, most of the cash will go to those tickets. And say if somebody who has a genuine ticket and he has won a prize, he will go to the operator, he'll say, oh, this is a counterfeit ticket, this is not a thing. Either tear it off or just keep it and ask the guy to leave. And whenever such a person would go and report to the police station, I mean, it's such a matter which doesn't receive any attention from the police for various reasons. Now, as we went deeper into the subject, we found that more than 156 such lottery operators were operating, some Sikkim lotteries, some Arunachal lotteries, some lotteries from all kinds of, from different states, and all states had lottery departments. And the collusion, unfortunately, was right from the top, that means the chief minister downwards. You may recall that some of the richest chief ministers then were chief ministers from the northeast, because maximum number of lotteries used to be from either Sikkim or Nagaland or Arunachal, Mizoram, and so on and so forth. Not many people know that one of the root causes of insurgency in the northeast is lotteries. Because these lottery operators operating from Delhi, they looted crores and crores of rupees from poor northeasterners. And when the first killing by a northeastern insurgent in post-independence India was in Manipur, when on 31st May 1991, the People's Liberation Army killed 4 lottery operators from Delhi. This was the kind of beginning of the violent clash, and similar activities were carried out in other states of the northeast, and therefore it spread. NSCN, in Nagaland and different states, this was going on. Further, the modus operandi was very, very interesting, and people became rich overnight. I remember the names, I remember the people who were involved, the companies, the chief ministers, the lottery operators, the lottery department officials, so on. I mean, there were a whole lot of, it was a very well organized racket. The people who came to plead in favor of the lottery operators were, believe it or not, civil servants, who were at the head of the lottery department, and they would come and say, "Ye aapne kya kiya? Bahut galat kiya, please." I said, "You are a fellow civil servant. Have a heart. This is the way these people have been operating." So this was my first exposure to a large-scale scam. Then, of course, subsequently, I moved on to the CBI, and there I got to investigate quite a few crimes pertaining to economic offences. Now, the points I will try to make today are mainly, number one, that many people confuse between white-collar crime and economic crime. Economic crime is a wide term, whereas white-collar crime are crimes by professionals, by civil servants, by people who are in authority, and using their authority, using their positions, they try to commit those offences. Whereas economic crimes in general can be committed by others also. The second point, most important point that I wish to make is that the law enforcement is a general statement, but I would like to make it that the capacity or the ability of law enforcement agencies in the country as far as dealing with economic offences is concerned is rather limited. So one area in which one thrust area can be to develop the capacities and the ability of law enforcement agencies, be it the police, be it the enforcement directorate, be it any agency, to be given special expertise for improving their capacity to deal with economic crime. They involve very intricate web of cash transfers, money laundering, cash trail and so on and so forth. So people with that kind of background should be taken into the police systems, into the law enforcement systems, and they should be made in charge of conducting these crimes. Today, even today, a man would first go to a police station, then he will perhaps be directed to the crime branch or to the economic offences wing before he can reach a federal investigative body. So the need to develop capacities is at that level, and only when we do that, it would make a difference. Other point Honorable Justice has already made, and which is to have strict laws to deal with economic crimes. I'll give you one example, not from an economic crime perspective, but from, say, traffic offences. During the Commonwealth Games that was held in the year 2010, you would have noticed that there were dedicated lanes for Commonwealth Games connected vehicles, and the rest of the road space was left for other vehicles. Now it worked beautifully in Delhi. What was the reason? The reason was that the fine was, by a special order, the fine was made to be 10,000 rupees. So anyone in the games lane is fined 10,000 rupees. That sent the message and put the fear of God in people, and the violation was virtually nil. Most people who have been associated with the management of Olympic Games and games of this standard and this level have said that nowhere else in the world was the games lane enforced with such severity. Therefore, if there are strong laws, like Honorable Justice said about the Companies Act and the fraud, and it would make a difference, but at the same time, the enforcement has to be very, very strict and stringent, like the SEBI is doing today. Talking about, I would just give a wider perspective to the phenomena by enumerating some of the other major economic offences like frauds in the primary markets, frauds in the secondary markets, frauds in non-banking financial corporations, frauds by way of the use of money laundering, which is happening at a very, very big scale. I mean, it's difficult to fathom what is the amount of money that is laundered around the world, but India is one of the worst offenders as far as laundering of money is concerned. You are aware that most of the Indians who evade tax, who evade customs duty and so on and so forth, they send their black money through various channels abroad and then get it back as remittances and so on and so forth. There are various ways to money laundering. Maybe the Economic Times might consider having the next session or one of the sessions in the future on money laundering alone, because it itself is a huge area of study and discussion. At the time, sir, when the Prevention of Money Laundering Act was framed, I don't know about the present status, the scheduled offences of offences or money laundered which came under the act were what? Were dacoity, prostitution, robbery and things like that. Now, which dacoit, which robber launders his money? The main acts, which are the Evasion, the Income Tax Act, the Customs Act and so many other acts, they were not covered. So anyone who indulges in tax evasion was not included in one of the scheduled offences. And the very definition of black money laundering is transferring of black money and converting it into white. And by black money, what do you mean by black money? By black money, we mean illegal profits earned on which tax has not been paid. But the Income Tax Act was not included. Offences under the Income Tax Act was not included in the schedule. Offences under the Customs Act was not included under the schedule. So at that point of time, I was in the CBI. When the draft bill was sent to us, we raised a big hue and cry that what kind of act is this? But it remained so, because again, vested interests in our country, bulk of the people who are the people who legislate, people who formulate our laws, they all have a vested interest in keeping the laws weak or the laws vague. So with these few stray thoughts, I'd like to make one last comment, again a very general statement. It is my sense as a citizen of India, maybe not as a police officer or former police officer or anything else, that the wide chasms that exist in our society between the rich and the poor, the state of our infrastructure, the state of our the poor development of our infrastructure and the condition of our country in this day is to a great extent on account of corruption, which also I consider to be an economic crime, and economic offences. Economic offences affect people like you and me, but not to that extent as it affects a poor man who has to toil from morning to evening in the heat, or has to plough fields, or has to work in factories under very inhuman conditions. It are these people who eventually are the victims. And the more we turn the blind eye to economic offences, to white collar crime, the more the disparities would increase and social frictions would arise. With these stray thoughts and general remarks, I would thank you for giving me the opportunity of speaking to this august audience. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, sir, for sharing an overall view with us and also for sharing those special anecdotes. May I now request Ms. Dhar to please join us on stage and present sir with a memento for joining us. Let's put our hands together. Thank you so very much.